Okay, so you watched the ending of Season 1 of Amazon Prime's Fallout, and you have a few questions. Well, let's talk about some information you might need while you wait for Season 2 after that cliffhanger. I'm Mark from Digital Dissection. I'll handle the research for you. And today, we're breaking down useful info for you to know about the Fallout universe based on Season 1's finale. Naturally, we're going to be digging into some very heavy spoiler content, so warning ahead for the Fallout games and Amazon Prime's first season. So I'm a big fan of Fallout's video games and the new Amazon TV series, and for years I've wanted to put my knowledge of the franchise to good use. Based on that, however, let's talk about some useful knowledge that might help us set up context from Season 1 to Season 2. By the end of Season 1 of Fallout's Amazon series, we know quite a few things. Mainly that Vault-Tec has been evil for a very long time, and they cryogenically froze their highest-ranking officials to survive nuclear war and potentially continue their corporate warfare into a post-apocalyptic world. One of Vault-Tec's highest-ranking officials just happens to live far beyond his years, by the name of Henry Hank McLean, father to Norm and Lucy McLean of Vault 33, with Lucy being the main focus of Season 1's events. Hank would serve as overseer to Vault 33, and manage the site from 2271 to 2296, part of Vault-Tec executive Bud Askin's initiative to continue Vault-Tec's legacy far beyond the constraints of time. Rather than be frozen himself, Askins ended up utilizing his brain for RoboBrain technology, so now he's a high-functioning Roomba. We come to learn, however, that Vault-Tec is responsible for waging nuclear devastation upon the Earth, as well as the complete destruction of Shady Sands, the first capital of the new California Republic sometime after 2281. If you already forgot about the NCR, essentially they serve as a new democratic government in California, Nevada, and Arizona. And while we're not entirely sure exactly how the destruction of Shady Sands occurred, it's clear that Hank McLean was involved in some way, and that his wife Rose defected to the NCR after losing trust in Hank. This decision would ultimately lead to her demise. There's a lot more going on, of course, in Amazon's Fallout series, but what we're here to talk about is Hank's destination in the Season 1 cliffhanger, and that would be the Mojave Wastelands, New Vegas. New Vegas, of course, is the setting of 2010's Fallout New Vegas, and is an indirect sequel to Fallout 3. It has a tremendous following, but is a bit muddy in terms of its overall canon. And why, you might ask? Well, the game has multiple outcomes based on decisions the player character makes. Here's the basic premise, though. The city of Las Vegas was largely left untouched by the Great Nuclear War, and 204 years after the destruction of 2077, there are parties seeking control of the region. Of these players, we already know one, the NCR, but two more exist, Robert House and Caesar's Legion. We'll start first with Mr. House. Robert House was actually born on June 25, 2020 within the Fallout universe, and would go on to attend the Commonwealth Institute of Technology at the center of Fallout 4's plot. And at the age of 22, he'd become the CEO of Robco Industries, one of the companies present during Season 1's Vault-Tec meeting as they disclosed their plans for ruling the planet post-apocalypse. House, however, produced a series of algorithms already to begin predicting the world's future, and had already planned his own survival, focusing on two strategies: a defense system for the Las Vegas Strip, and a life support system that would connect his brain to a massive network, alongside augmented technologies designed to artificially keep his body alive in a controlled environment. House already had a seemingly foolproof plan, as his laser defense system and robot Securitron armies would have helped him keep control over the region. But a critical operating system upgrade designed by House and contained within a Platinum chip was miscalculated to be delivered to him shortly after the bombs fell, instead of moments before. Due to this, House faced many difficulties with version 1 of his new technology-aided existence, but the chip he designed was lost for hundreds of years as a consequence, and House himself would fall into a coma for several decades, reawakening in 2138 and staying hidden in the Lucky 38 casino on the Vegas Strip, a casino he owned as part of his vast financial empire. House, however, would lose some of his influence over the Strip during this time, and would begin to slowly but surely build relationships in 2274 with raider groups who had moved into the Las Vegas Strip. These would later become factions known as the Chairmen, the Omertas, and the White Glove Society, families that would build the future of New Vegas under House's control. House would later choose to expand his presence with the NCR when his security forces noticed them establishing operations at the Hoover Dam, which provides electricity to New Vegas. Which brings us to that other group we mentioned, Caesar's Legion. Caesar's Legion, in contrast, are a totalitarian dictatorship founded by Edward Sallow, a self-anointed Caesar, and a former missionary by the name of Joshua Graham. Caesar's Legion enslaved many of the smaller tribes located across the desert wastes, and have been at odds with the NCR for many years, as Caesar wants to conquer the NCR and utilize their resources and technology to essentially begin a new version of the Roman Empire, starting with the Vegas Strip. This comes to a head before the events of New Vegas, as the first battle of the Hoover Dam occurs in 2277, with the NCR and Caesar's forces clashing over the critical resource that provides electricity to the Mojave Wasteland. The NCR held their position for a good portion of the Hoover Dam battle, but eventually the Legion pushes their way through, forcing the NCR into nearby Boulder City. This gain in position, however, was a deception by the NCR, as Boulder City was a strategic position, but one that they decided to lace with explosives. By the time the Legion arrived, the NCR had already evacuated the area, detonating the city and taking many of the Legion's best officers with it. This would force Joshua Graham, who led the Legion's forces, into a retreat. It would actually cost Graham his position with the Legion, as Caesar would cover him in pitch, set him on fire, and throw him into the Grand Canyon, showing that regardless of your position with the Legion, anyone would suffer the consequences of failure. After this display, Graham became known as the Burned Man, and his survival is highly rumored across the Mojave Wasteland, before being confirmed in the Honest Hearts DLC for the game. From this point, however, a second battle for the Hoover Dam does occur in 2282, but if you remember earlier, Fallout New Vegas and its final events were entirely dependent on the player's choices. So while your New Vegas endgame might differ, there are a few things we do know that could still impact Amazon's series. Mr. House, for example, strategically needed the NCR to control the Hoover Dam, and negotiated the New Vegas Treaty in 2274. So regardless of the game's events, this critical partnership was already in place, meaning that the NCR should already be there. As to why Hank McLean would go there, we have a few reasons that make quite a bit of sense. For one, Vault-Tec has a presence in the area, with 6 vaults in total: 3, 11, 19, 21, 22, and 34. Vault 21 specifically is located on the New Vegas Strip, and while half of it was made inaccessible and filled with concrete by Mr. House, the other half was made into a hotel and might still house secrets Hank is potentially after. This may not just apply to 21, but any of the other 5. Based on Fallout's first season, House is present at Vault-Tec's secret meeting, as he was CEO of Robco Industries, as we mentioned earlier. And due to the many agreements House influenced, it's possible he's still aligned with Vault-Tec even post-war. RepCon is another example, as its chief financial officer Julia Masters also attended the same meeting. And eagle-eyed New Vegas fans will also remember her, as she sold secrets of the rocket developer to Mr. House, as they were also headquartered in Nevada and bought out by Robco in 2075. Another possible ally from the past could be the Big MT, who also attended Vault-Tec's invite. And while its location has been theorized to have been near Death Valley, the massive research facility may not be as likely to be Hank's target, as he clearly is already close enough to see New Vegas's walls. However, based on Hank's involvement with the destruction of Shady Sands, there's one more location he might be after, and it's a resource that the Brotherhood of Steel and NCR forces sought control of, a facility named Helios 1. Owned by pre-war company Poseidon Energy, Helios 1 was positioned as a massive solar plant designed to rival nuclear power as an energy source. What it also hid, however, were secret technologies named Archimedes and Archimedes II. The laser-based technologies included a turret defense system and an orbital bombardment artillery satellite, respectively. And considering that Vault-Tec's post-war interests already destroyed one city, their knowledge of this site could influence where Hank is heading. Based on this, however, there are many places to consider before we see Fallout's next season. But what do you think? Could it mean a reunion of nefarious individuals from Fallout's past? Or maybe something that we missed? Let us know in the comments, and until next time, pop culture nerds, keep on dissecting.